And we're back with another video. If you watched my last video, I shared why I believe the 2023 Dodge Demon 170 values were dropping. The proof's in the math. I mean, you could simply go online and see that you can steal these things now. They're getting closer and closer to the 150 range, and that is shocking. It's shocking more to the people who are blasting me in the comments because they believe that it's videos like mine and TK's and Butters and others out there that are actually driving the values down. They're ignoring the fact that a whole bunch of these things have blown engines, and a percentage that I believe is a higher percentage in reality, since so many of these are sitting in garages wrapped in bubble wrap. So many of them are currently for sale with little to no miles on them, meaning they were bought by speculators and flippers, or dealers are hoarding them. So we have no clue how many of these are really going to be afflicted or affected by the defects, the omissions of parts, and just overall blown engines. We don't know, and we won't know potentially for many, many years until these cars finally find their way onto the market and onto a racetrack or even onto a highway. And that's when it's going to be found out, long after warranties have expired and parts are unavailable, and these things are going to be worth absolutely nothing. They're going to be the most beautiful, badass looking 5.7 RT engine swapped Demon 170s in the world. I don't know. They'll have to put something else in those things if they wait too long, and that is a concern. It's a concern for someone like myself who would think, man, if I go buy one of these things, what's going to happen? Like any of you, if you buy one right now, what's going to happen? And if you paid $200,000 plus for one of these things and you have it sitting in a hermetically sealed garage with bubble wrap around it, and you're thinking this is going to be worth so much money. Nonetheless, today's video, we're going to talk about why I believe the 2018 Demon is going to end up being the car to buy, the car that frankly excites me again. It makes me think this could be a fun option. It could be a more fun option and something that makes a little bit more sense for most of us. So let's go and talk about the 2018 Demon, why I think these things are going to be the hottest things in the world once everybody gets their head out of the clouds about these Demon 170s. And when I say hottest things in the world, do I think they're going to just skyrocket in value? You know, I don't believe they're going to skyrocket in value like anything for a very long time. I believe almost anything has the potential to go to the moon in price if you wait 30 or 40 years and you keep in a really good condition. But the only way these things have any short term, and when I say short term, I mean, let's just say 5 to even 10-year appreciation ability, is generally when you can keep the miles down to nothing. And it could be one of the few rare cars that have not been exposed to the universe and is still in that pristine condition, and somebody could purchase it, albeit for a ridiculous price, but get themselves a brand new car that's 10 years old and carry on that collector tradition and let it sit around, kind of like a Ferrari 360. I think it was a 2000 Ferrari 360 I saw at a dealership, and it looked amazing. It only had like 700 miles on it or something. And I remember telling the salesman, oh my gosh, I mean, that would be a really cool car to have. He goes, if you want a decoration in your garage, but if you want to drive it, you're going to spend a fortune to make it runnable again because it's been sitting for so long. So I believe the best cars out there that you're going to want to buy are going to be the ones with miles on them. And I think with the Demon 170, those with miles on them have a chance at reaching some good values, let's just say 10, 15, 20, 30 years from now. Because at that point, let's say they're sitting on 5,000 miles, someone will be able to look back in history and know that, okay, that car made it past break-in, it made it past some normal driving, it made it past the track, and that engine is a good engine. That engine was driven, that means it's okay, it wasn't one of the bad ones. But every time you look at one of those things where you're looking at 10 miles, 15 miles, 20 miles, delivery miles, 100 miles, 200 miles, you don't know if that's one of the ticking time bombs. And I would have to say that it's We can't say the same thing about the 2018 Demon, because the 2018 Demons, which many of them are still being hoarded in dealership garages and by collectors with very few, little to no miles on them, and they're asking ridiculously high prices for them. But I would only have concern with those, not because there was any stigmatism of those blowing up like you have with the Demon 170s, but more so simply because you have a car that's been sitting for way too long. We all know that cars need to be driven. Every piece of plastic or rubber on that car from sitting around is going to have an issue. If that oil wasn't swapped out, if the gas wasn't swapped out, there's a lot of things that would cause all kinds of issues having that car, any car, sitting for 7 years now. Or let's just say the 2018 Demon, 10 years from now, you've got 17-year-old car with very low miles that some dealer or some flipper or some collector wants $200,000 for. For that reason, I'd have a concern. But if everything was fine and they changed all the rubber and kept that thing lubricated and took it around the block and at least, let's say, put 300 or 400 miles on it, you might be okay. But with the 2023 Demon, you got to remember, you might not be okay. And there's nothing anybody can get around that. I'm getting beat up in the comments on the last video. Well, how many? One guy writes, how many have blown? Go ahead and answer that question. I'll wait. Like a little smug little weasel in the comments. So I went to write him back, and then he deleted his comment because I wrote back saying, how many 2018 Demons have blown? How many 2023 Red Eyes have blown? How many 2022 Scat Packs have blown? See, we don't see headlines about those cars. How about this? How many Corvette Z06s have blown? We're not seeing that stuff. How many Vipers blew? We don't have that information because it wasn't a problem. But with the 2023 Demon 170, it's indisputable at this point that it is a problem. So if I want to have a Demon, if I want to go flex at car meets, or I want to go, I don't know, drive fast or go to the track, I'm thinking right now, I'm going to go get myself a 2018 Demon. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go tune that sucker, and I'm going to do some fun stuff to beef it up, to build it up, to get a little bit more horsepower. I found a tuner online, send you a new PCM, and you throw some headers on that thing, or take off the cats, straight pipe it, and you're getting another 60 plus horsepower out of that Demon, which is going to take you over 900 horsepower in that Demon, 2018 Demon. But let's go ahead and jump over to my other computer, and I'll show you some of the interesting math surrounding these things. All right, so here is Car Guru's. Just if you're shopping for a 2018 Demon, and I went ahead and I shot all around the country, nationwide, highest price first is what we'll look at. So you can find this incredible 2018 Demon. No mileage listed. I already found out when you click on it, you can go and take a look at. This thing's been sitting for 7 years now. 28 miles on it. Now, I don't know about you all, but if I'm going to spend $200,000 on a car that I'm going to drive, I'm going to have tremendous concern about this thing having sat for the last 7 years and only did 28 miles. That car is probably problematic. If not, great, but I'm not spending $200,000 on it if I'm going to drive it and put miles on it and take that risk when I can. Let's go to lowest price first and check out what you can get a 2018 Demon for. That's been driven. That's been more than broken in. 28,000, 29,000 miles for $89,877. And here's what's really fun about this car. When you do a little bit of digging in here, it's only a one-owner car with no accidents reported. So one-owner car, 218 days for sale. The guy dropped the price by $19,000. This is a motivated, very likely a more motivated seller, meaning that you might be able to get a deal better than $89,877. So I'm thinking, what a fun car this would be to buy. Go over here, get the Stage 2, get the catless mid pipes or headers, and take this thing up another 60 horsepower and have a car that I can just drive the living daylights out of, that frankly looks better than the Demon 170 because it has the front fender flares. Sorry, but I think it looks better. Certainly does. But Brad, it's for the skinny wheels and it's for weight loss. Well, that's fine. Take out all the seats. If you want to go race this thing, you can strip a ton of weight out of that thing, still have your front fender flares, and still look very, very good. So I'm not too worried about that. But go back to this Demon, $89,000. Now, let's just say that ad's old and somebody bought it. It's not available. Here's one for 91, 38,000 miles, 26,000 miles. By the way, I'm going to talk to these owners and I'm going to find out, tell me about the maintenance on this car. Do you have books and records? Was it serviced at the dealership? A lot of these people paid a lot of money for these cars, potentially even very large markups. And that means they took very good care of these cars. Some were ragged out and destroyed, and you can tell. So I would get a pre-purchase inspection. Why not? You can spend $1,000 or less, probably half that, and get somebody, or take your buddy who's a Dodge mechanic and have him go over the car and make sure that it's okay. But Brad, I'd be afraid of a 43,000 mile Demon. Well, if you know how to tinker with these things, you know how to work on them. At $94,000, you could completely rebuild that entire engine and still be way better off than you would be in a 2023 Demon that's blowing engines. So you probably got no worse chance of this thing grenading on you than you do one of the new ones. But these are, of course, the lowest prices, but it's not like it's rare. So you've got 99,000, 8,000 miles. Like that would probably be a really great car right there. 8,000 miles. You've got 19,000 miles, 17,000 miles, $100,000. And by the way, these are all asking prices. I would negotiate these prices down, go pick up these cars and oh, by the way, California people, once a car passes 7,500 miles, you can bring these into California if they were only 49 state cars. So that problem is solved. Now on the 2023 Demons, all of those were 50 state cars. And Tim Kuniskis himself told me that was a result of what happened to me with my Hellcat. They decided to do that for all of the 23 Demons. So don't worry. But if you're buying Red Eyes or Hellcats, definitely be careful. So you can see where the prices start to go up, and you start getting into 3,000 miles. You still got some people holding it a little high, but 18,000 miles, some really low mileage cars, 3,100 miles. Now these did not have a massive history of engines blowing right out of the gate, right after they were sold and delivered to dealerships and sold to a customer and taken out to a track or just taken out driving. There wasn't massive news about these things unless I'm missing something, blowing engines. So with 3,187 miles on it, I might feel okay buying one of these things. And now it's out of warranty anyway, so it's not like any work I do to it's going to blow my warranty. So I can go ahead and do some work to it. I can tune it. I can put a tune on it, do some exhaust work on it. I'm not worried about voiding a warranty. At this point, I'm simply taking a car that is pretty badass and going out and having a hell of a lot of fun with it, whether it be on a track or out on the highway. Just seems like a no-brainer to me for the money. So that is 2018. So you've got the highest crazy prices, then you've got tons of lower prices, and certainly all kinds of variance in colors and specs and conditions. So search wisely, get a pre-purchase inspection, use your brain, but so many of these things are for sale. Now remember, we're 7 years out, and so many of the Demon 170 people are saying, well, listen, once all the cars are sold and they become very rare on the market, then the prices are going to go back up. Well, that didn't necessarily happen with the 2018s. I guess maybe you would, if there was a graph, it would show that prices had a really huge spike from the dealers who were inflating the daylights out of them. And then they started to settle down a little bit, just like the 170s are, but they didn't have any engine blowing stigmatisms that were scaring people away or causing massive fear. These things remained very popular even up until this day, yet they still are way more affordable and the prices have dropped. I think right now we're sitting in a place to where prices are lower and people are still kind of heads in the sand about what's happening with the Demon 170, so you can still get some deals on these things. I think if the Demon 170s continue to have engine problems and blow, these 2018s are going to become way more popular, especially in these lower price ranges. And yes, if you want to pay more, you can for lower miles, nicer condition, folks that have kept their crate, because that's another issue. But don't worry about the PCM. You can buy those online all day long. But you got to buy that. Maybe you have to buy the skinny tires if you're going to go to the track. But a lot of people want to buy their own stuff anyways. But if they have the crate with these things too, geez, that's great. I found a few crates online and they're just expensive, $5,000-$6,000. But if you can find one with a crate, it's probably going to be more money. So when you see some of these higher priced ones, you're probably going to find that they actually still have the crate and all the good stuff that comes with that thing. But a lot of them, I imagine they don't have them. But just amazing. So now let's go and look at what's happening with the 2023 Demons. So I had to do a strange search. You'll see some red eyes get popped in here because that's how they categorize these things, as red eyes, even though they're demons, but you can tell the demons simply by looking at the picture. So again, 155, 157, 159, 164. I don't know if that's a demon. That does not look like. That's a black. It might be a black ghost. I think that's a black ghost. Yeah, that's a black ghost. So some of these are actually red eyes. So forget about that. Let's go up and make sure we're looking at demons here. 169, 170, 171. So you can still see that there are people with their heads in the clouds. So when we go get past the red eyes and the black ghosts, here's a demon, 187, 184. There's a black ghost for 191, 189. So listen, I'm looking at going here and paying, incredibly great money on a 2018 Demon that I can tune, I could rip into, I can build the daylights out of, and I might only be paying. I could get one for $100,000 in pretty damn good condition with a few miles on them. Or I can come over here and get ripped still for $184,000 and not know whether or not the engine's going to grenade on me. To me, that's an issue. But let's look at the difference in the speed. I think everyone knows this, so I'm not going to beat this dead horse. But the reality of it is when people are going to go, but Brad, the 170 is so much faster and it's so much more technologically advanced, and you can run the ethanol right out of the gate with that thing, and it's got 1,025 horsepower versus the 840. It wouldn't take a whole hell of a lot to take that Demon up to 1,000 horsepower. Just know that. Especially when you're talking about a $80,000 to $100,000 price difference. And if you're not going to have a warranty anyways on your 170, or you're going to blow your engine anyways, then what the hell's the difference? So here's the specs here on hot cars and the weight of the two cars. So 0 to 60, and remember that's with rollout versus 2.3. So you're looking at less than a second difference. So I don't know about you all, but we're looking at maybe, 0.6 of a second or something, a little bit more different for an extra $100,000. Quarter mile, 8.91. That's very hard to achieve, Just ask Racer X and all the others out there that are racing them. That is not easy at 151, but the actual top speed is 149, but they allow it to go for a couple seconds on the track to get past that. But top speed, this was done before they discovered the issue, 149. You've got top speed on the 2018 at 168, limited, and it's not hard to take that limiter off. Just be careful with what tires you're running and drivetrain. So then you've got 9.65 seconds at 140 miles an hour. So 9.65 versus 8.91, we're still looking at less than a second different. Now that's huge on a drag strip. I understand it. I'm not a race car driver, and I get a fractions of a second's a big deal. But what would it take to make this car for $100,000 less or $90,000 less to beat that car? I don't know. You folks out there that like to race, you guys probably know. So, but that's 100 grand you save in your pocket if you're really into racing, and much less chance, in my opinion, of that engine blowing compared to one of these 170s, which is what we're dealing with right now in the current universe. So some people are just saying, well, why don't I just buy a red eye? Well, things change dramatically because it's more of a road car. Even though it's a race car, it's still more of a road car. So, and here's the tune I was talking to you guys about. So that's just one place. I mean, $1,500, then you get your catless mid pipes or your headers, and you've got 60 more horsepower. You're now past the 900 horsepower, and you're crushing it. By the way, go here, check these guys out. Look, 110 extra horsepower to your Hellcat. I mean, it's not a whole hell of a lot to go and really blow these things up when it comes to horsepower, and at least you don't have to worry about blowing up your engine as much as you have to be concerned about a 170 that you're paying $150,000 to $200,000 for. So that, folks, is why I believe the best deal out there right now is a 2018 Demon. I think it's a beautiful car. It's got the flex, it's got the cachet, and over time, let's say 30, 40 years, regardless of what miles you put on it, if it's still running well, it's going to be highly sought after. I do believe in a big way that these things have right about bottomed out. I can't see them going for much less. I mean, the lowest one there was like 89 grand. I can't see, unless it was wrecked a few times, has major issues, or massive miles on it where you know you're going to need a new engine. These things, for the most part, with, let's just say, less than 10, 15, 20,000 miles, they bottomed out in price. They're not going to go down anymore. I liken it to my old Lamborghini, the Gallardo that I had. You know, it wasn't the most rare Gallardo in the world or car or exotic in the world, but it sat at its value. It had hit bottom, and it's been bouncing around at that $85,000 to $95,000 price range, regardless of the economy. And same with the Demon, 2018 Demon, is that thing's bouncing around. It's been bouncing around there for quite a while. By the way, it's not because the 170, those prices, you could find these things out there for $129,000, $130,000, $120,000 with miles on them, $110,000 before the 170 even came out. So these things are really stable in value, stable in reliability, and fast as hell. And frankly, in my opinion, they look better. Sorry to beat up the 170, but Dodge, you could have done a better job. Having these cars out there blowing up all over the place is horrible for values, horrible for perception, horrible for the $200,000 plus experience these dealers sold so many people into. So for that reason, if you want a really fast, cool car, save yourself a bunch of money. If you want a Demon, get yourself a 2018, tune the living daylights out of it, and go pop some wheelies and have some fun. So with that, everybody, please like, subscribe, comment. Let me know what you think. Am I out of my mind? And I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.